I'm Joy Randall, and I am a beauty entrepreneur and conversationist. I'm also the master cosmetologist at Essential Aesthetics and Laser in Charlotte, North Carolina. My background is in professional makeup artistry. For over 15 years, I've worked with celebrities, major networks, and national magazines. Makeup artistry led me to wanting to know everything I possibly could about skincare, which made me much more health conscious and finally led me to understanding the emotional connections to beauty. I've learned so much along the way, and I want to share it all with you here on Beautiful Conversations. I'm talking all things beauty with experts who are amazing at what they do. I hope you not only get to know them, but learn lots about the industry and how to achieve your beauty goals. So enjoy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share it with a friend. All right, guys, welcome to Beautiful Conversations. As you heard in the intro, I am Joy Randall, also known as the Beauty Influencer. And this is I'm actually wrapping up 2021 with this conversation series, which I'm very proud of, to be honest. So, anywho, welcome. This is where I talk to what I like to say cool-ass people, that I know and that I have met in the industry, and, to also inspire those who may be coming into the industry and who want to get into the industry, and those who are just interested, enthusiasts in general. There's a lot of cool people, cool information out here. And one of those cool people that I have met is Miss Ashley Pollard. I am excited to introduce you to Ashley. I met her working with Hydrafacial. As some of you all know, that I work at Essential Aesthetics and Laser, one of the many hats that I wear. And so Ashley came in with her beautiful brown self to do a training, and it was an excellent training on our new Hydrafacial. And so I knew that I needed to continue talking with this young lady. So Ashley, welcome.
Thank you.
That's my short version and my short spiel of how I met you, but please, introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about you and what you do and where you're from and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. As Joy mentioned, we met in the field. I, as she mentioned as well, work as a business development manager with Hydrafacial. And that's how Joy and I met. So I've been in the aesthetics industry for about 7 years. I've worked for different brands within the medical silo of, aesthetics and beauty. And I'm located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I've been here for, about 6 years now. I'm originally from Philly, so northerner down south now, and it's been great. But as Joy mentioned, it was just so great to see another woman of color in the industry. So we immediately kind of hit it off, and, the rest is history.
Yes. And for those who don't know, just in case, as you all should know everything about Hydrafacial, but for those who don't know what Hydrafacial is, just a real quick rundown of what Hydrafacial is.
Absolutely. So Hydrafacial is a skin health treatment. And you may have seen the 3 steps, 30 minutes. So we're not just a facial, as the name says, but it's really probably 6 treatments in one. So it's a very personalized treatment that's going to exfoliate your skin, really clean out your pores. It's very personalized for the end user. So no matter what your skin concerns are, we can kind of customize it for you. And we basically take all the bad stuff out and put all the good stuff back in. So we kind of drive in super serums into the skin, like your antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, hyaluronic acid, and also other helpful ingredients based on your skin concern. So, it covers a lot of bases, but it's for all skin types, all skin concerns, and it's good no matter where you're at in your skin health journey. So it's great as a standalone treatment and in conjunction with other services. So very popular.
And I have had a few myself, and I absolutely love it. That's not even just, a plug because Ashley's here. It's one of the services that I also recommend to kind of those who are just starting out to, like you're not quite ready for something as intense as a really intense medical grade peel or, lasers, but it's right there in between, and it's going to take you that step further from just a traditional facial. So and give you that deep clean. You will be glowing, you will be snatched. Don't just get the deluxe, get the black. So, anyway. And come to Essential to get it done. Yes, that's what you need to do. So, with all of that said, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you here, again, like we said, I consider us both women who at this point are in the higher end spectrum of skincare. You go around to a lot of I know this area in Charlotte, I'm not sure how far it extends into like the southeastern region, but I know that you have seen a lot of different spas and different places. And I think, you can attest to this or not, but we both have a similar experience of, being a few, there's only a few, brown women or women of color. We'll just say that in general, women of color in this end of the industry. Yeah. And, my experience for the most part is positive. That's not a particularly negative thing. It's just, kind of the fact of the matter. Right. How do you feel about, your experience so far in the industry and just kind of being a woman of color?
Yeah, like you, my experience thus far has been positive, but you don't see many of us. And, it's not just this area. I think it's the industry as a whole. Like you're saying on the medical side of things, from all aspects, like from the top down, you really don't see many women of color on this side. And there's a lot of awareness coming to that recently with the lack of, Black and brown dermatologists representing in the industry and, availability of care. And it kind of silos down to the, cosmetic side of things, the cash pay, not the medical side as well. So I think there's a lot of room for growth for sure when it comes to diversifying this industry and, getting us more aware of more advanced cosmetic services, and things that are safe for us and things that are also going to move the needle in terms of results, right? So, we know, right, being on this side of the industry, that this is kind of where you want to be when you're looking to see results, right? And just my own personal experiences, I see more of my peers and more women of color kind of still on the retail side of things. So I think it's definitely been something that's brewing a little bit more now, especially as the population in our country is changing slowly but surely, that, there needs to be some more representation in this area for sure.
I like where this is going. There's a couple points that you made there that made me think of things. Like, number one, I think that, I try to keep 100, on my platform. But number one, you see so many of us just on the, not only the retail side, but just on the practitioner side, just doing the facials. There's so much. You are in the business side. You're not only someone who is teaching, but you're in the business side of it. I am also on the marketing side, though I do, provide services. You as well, we are kind of across the board on that. But I definitely just want to encourage those of you who, like you said, I mean, there's just so much out there and so much more that we need for our skin, you know, to really get the corrective work that we want to see. You know, we're gonna have to step it up a little bit. We're gonna have to like push a little bit further into the awareness, you know, of what's out there.
Yes.
But speaking to just retail in general, I come from that background. Like, I used to work with Met Cosmetics for a long time. Yeah. Like, what's your assessment, you know, like, of that side of the industry versus where kind of like you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things with working on like medical aesthetics, right, is that more of these brands have put more of their time and money into research. So a lot of the times we find there's more studies on these products and services. They're more efficacious. You know, that's not to say that a retail brand cannot be, but I think in general, what you'll see is more money and resources put toward marketing and the appearance of the product, and you know, how it looks, how it's specifically targeting certain demographics. So like I said, it's not to say that just because you get a product from a retail silo of the industry that it doesn't work. That's not true. But I think as a whole, the products that you find in professional places, whether it's from your facialist, your esthetician, your dermatologist, usually those are only dispensed by professionals, and it's because they may have higher concentrated ingredients, right? The concentration we know is going to yield results, or, you know, there's no more white papers on, you know, how this works and how long it takes to work, right? So I think it's just a little more proof sometimes in the pudding in this industry, for sure. And then you're working with people who are trained in your skin, right? Whether that be a dermatologist or an esthetician, they are trained to provide care for you rather than you kind of going out on your own and just navigating the industry by yourself, because that's really what it becomes, more of like a trial and error, right? Where you're just kind of out there. You're like, oh, okay, I saw this ad or whatever, so I'm going to try it. And it may or may not work, you know? And so you're kind of out navigating it by yourself. Whereas over here, it's more of, you have someone there who can give you their expertise and kind of hold your hand in that process and recommend things that they know are proven to work for you.
And the price points are higher, yes, but that is because they're more effective. They've been studied and they actually work. And so for, in general, women of color who are just, you know, stepping into skincare and becoming more aware of what's out there, sometimes I think the stigma, you know, that costs too much, and, you know, but it's like, again, you're buying these cheaper products or these retail or these more marketed products, and you're doing the trial and error, and you're making the mistakes on your skin. And by the time you've already spent the money that you would have spent, you know, just investing in, you know, a product that this professional is telling you about anyway. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I think the amount of money that we spend, and, you know, statistically, you know, Black women are more likely to spend because of that trial and error experience, right? Even on cosmetics as well as, you know, skincare products, because we are kind of more likely to be out there navigating it on our own. And there's a lot of reasons for that, marketing wise, you know, just not seeing ourselves in certain brands, right? So you kind of automatically get this feeling like, okay, well, this isn't for me, right? But that's not true. It's not true. I mean, I definitely think there needs to be better effort and initiatives put out to target us. And I kind of see that happening more now, right? But at the end of the day, the ingredients are the ingredients, the science is the science. And, you know, there are really great products that will work on this side and are proven to work to achieve certain results, whether it be hyperpigmentation, improving texture or whatever it is. The industry has truly come a long way. So I would definitely love to see more of us invest in our skin, especially when I know we're spending the money regardless, right? Like we're spending it, right? We're definitely moving that retail needle. So I wish we would spend it on things that will work.
What better investment than your face? That bag, that hair, what better investment than your face? I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer for me, but anyway. Yeah. I don't know about your experience too, but again, even working in these industries, I work with a team of wonderful Caucasian women. They're really cool. They're knowledgeable, the whole nine. And sometimes just when I've been promoting my own services, it's very interesting to me that, like you said, I don't think that women of color see enough representation of the practitioners on that high-end side. And they'll almost go get the services from a white woman. It's like, I'm promoting the service, but you're not coming to me to get the service. Have you ever experienced that?
I haven't. And honestly, that is upsetting that that's the case, right? I feel like you may see a little bit of both, right? So there's definitely a lack of representation for us, even on the doctor side, right? I think less than 3% of dermatologists are people of color. So there's not enough of us to go around, right? At all on a doctor level. And then when you come down to estheticians, and from personal experience, I don't see a lot of us in medical practices like you are, that kind of have a medical director, have more advanced lasers, more advanced products and access to those things. So I think the fact that they have access to you, I would expect to see more of an influx of us, because I feel like there's definitely that sense of security when you see someone who looks like you feel kind of more safer that they can treat you, right? Or they can kind of know what you're going through. There's a bond in that, or kind of a safety net in that, I think. So that's surprising.
And it could be relative to just, sometimes it's hard, again, coming from a makeup background to going to medical aesthetics. It's two opposite ends of the spectrum. So sometimes people, I guess, are kind of well, do you know what you're doing? But it's also interesting because every time I do get to work with a woman of color, and I'm yeah, man, let's get some photos, let's document this as much as possible. It's interesting that I do find that, at least again, the women that I've come in contact with shy away from that documentation process. So I don't have it to show you that this is out there, this is the way that it works,
Right.
And so even to your point of the research, I've gone to some conferences where you're looking, and these doctors they have these before and afters, these pictures, and this, this is how it is 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the line. And there may be one person of color, that they can show in those studies. And, you want to say that you can't get mad about it, because again, that we're not always coming to get services. And then, it's just sad, because it's well, I don't have it to give you the proof. You won't let me document the process.
Yeah. And there's the front end side of it, which you're experiencing, right? Where you're my personal interaction, someone's not, allowing me to take that documentation. And it may be a lack of awareness too, just not knowing that that's kind of the process, right? We need before and afters. And I actually started my career in aesthetics inside of a practice. And I remember we used to have to chase people down for before and afters. Yeah. But they're so important. And I think on a larger scale, especially for us, because like you said, you don't see them often, you don't. And so from an individual standpoint, I want them, right? Like I want to be able to get them. You know, I've had practices that have done treatments on me and they've asked me to like, hey, can you please document your process through this, whether it's a chemical peel or whatever, because they're like, we don't have those photographs. We don't have those before and afters on those Fitzpatrick like 4 through 6. So I think even from a patient standpoint, knowing that kind of your process and your experience, while you may feel as though it's just kind of personal to you, and it is, but it kind of can help on a larger scale too. So I hope that we can kind of open ourselves up more. Like open ourselves up more. Like that's the process, right? Like you want to be able to document. And, you know, sometimes I feel like from a patient, right, you look at yourself every single day, right? So sometimes there may be a change, but you don't notice it. And so those before and afters can really help you understand like, hey, is this really working or is it not? Because when there's minor corrections or minor improvements over time, and, you know, the treatments that we provide are not some overnight thing, right? Like it's an investment. It's a lifestyle.
Yes,
it's not overnight.
All right, go ahead.
No, it's true. And I think people come in and they're like, I mean, we all joke about it all the time. It's like, oh, you know, I did my skincare routine for a week and then it's not working. Or, you know, it's like, this takes time. It takes continuous improvements. And so that before and after, those photographs are part of that process, right? So you can monitor the progress. So I definitely want to see more people be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You mentioned that you started out in an office yourself, you know, working in aesthetics. So how did you get, you know, to where you are now in the industry?
Yeah, so originally, before I got into aesthetics, my goal was to kind of be an administrator for a large healthcare system. Like that's what I thought I wanted to do. And, you know, I've always been into skincare. Actually, when I was in college, I made my own skincare products and that's kind of how I make money. So that's always kind of been me. I use it. I have very, very sensitive skin, so I'm not always able to use just anything. So that's always kind of been in me, but I originally thought I just wanted to be like a healthcare administrator. And my first role kind of out of college was as a marketing director for a pretty busy, fast-paced cosmetic derm here in Charlotte. And that's really where I got introduced to all of these treatments and services, right? The medical side of things. And so, I mean, it was a successful derm that I worked under. She was seeing upwards of like 100 patients a day that were coming in for medical care as well as cosmetic services. And we had the gambit of lasers, body contouring, medical grade skincare products. There's an esthetician, we had laser techs, nurse injectors. So that's really where I got exposed to all of that and working with different reps in the industry. And then I kind of, my role there was marketing, generating leads for the cosmetic side, getting people in the door. And then I kind of flipped and got into the other side. So it was, instead of, promoting a bunch of different services for one practice, I kind of flipped to promoting and helping multiple practices grow with one service. And so that's kind of what I do now. Hydrafacial is not the first company I've worked with, but we kind of go in, and when they purchase a treatment like Hydrafacial or anything else, the reps kind of go in to help the practitioners and the business owners like grow within that segment.
Right.
So, it's definitely given me various perspectives of aesthetics. So I work with a lot of different practices in the area. And so I've worked inside of a practice. I've worked with multiple practices on the outside, seeing how different people do things. So I definitely think I have more of a well-rounded view now, having worked on both sides for sure.
So with that said, do you feel like, is there any particular thing that stands out to you that you feel like is missing?
Yeah, us, for sure.
Okay.
It is. I think each You may see pockets of more saturation just based on the city, right? The Atlantas, maybe the DCs, right? There's more skin of color providers, I would say for sure. But I think statistically speaking, we know as an industry as a whole, like there's just not a lot of representation. You know, I'm not here on behalf of Hydrafacial at all, but I love the fact that Hydrafacial is good for all skin types, right? Like, I know that it's safe, it works, right? I use it on my skin. And so there are a lot of brands out there, right, that are safe for, you know, darker skin. There are, and they work. And I think I would like to see more marketing toward, you know, people of color. I think that's an issue too. We definitely need to see more providers being people of color too, right? Just from a patient, you want to see yourself in your provider, and you know, most people don't have access to that. It's just we're not there. And then I think also too, you're starting to see more lasers. The technology is starting to change a little too, so that it's safer on darker skin types too. So I think the industry as a whole is definitely making moves in the right direction, but I definitely want to see more of it.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, and again, because when you've gone through those issues yourself and you know exactly what it feels like and what that process is like, and it is so different, you know, it's different than Caucasian skin or what we call lighter Fitzpatrick's. You have to handle that skin differently. I've learned so much, you know, it's like you're excited to share and you're excited. You're like, you see this person and they have, you know, this particular issue and you're like, gosh, I know exactly what will work for you, you know. But it's an investment across the board. I mean, I think mentally, physically, emotionally too. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. What have you seen kind of from the provider standpoint, right? You see patients all day. Is there a trend you've noticed as well, kind of?
Well, you know, I find it, again, coming from completely cosmetic in the makeup side, I find it's so interesting how close skincare is to medicine, you know, like that medical component. And I just think there has to be more education all the time. I mean, from hormones to what women are eating. You know, I'm big on talking about self-care and, you know, the emotional relationship that we have with our skin, you know, dysmorphia too, especially, like, is really, really crazy around this, you know, the time that we're in with people looking at others on social media, creating really realistic results. Yeah. I mean, you know, realistic expectations for them. So I just think there has to be a lot more education for women of color in general.
Yes.
You know, about what it's really going to take. Because it's a whole lifestyle change, really.
It is a lifestyle change. And I love that you talked about working from within too, right? So it's not always just something topical that's going to change it. And I am starting to see more people look at like the whole holistic side of things. Like you said, like treating from the inside out as well as from the outside. And I mean, even stress, right? Stress plays a factor too, and all of that. So
I was literally sitting in my phone right now that I've been working on, like, stress, managing stress is a part of skincare. It just, it's your skincare, you know, cortisol, like, it's a real stress hormone.
Yes, no, I mean, I've had that personal battle with myself, you know, too, just, you know, stress, working in a stressful industry, right? Sales and all of that. And you definitely, throughout the month, that hormones, all of that, you know, can take a toll, for sure. And then if you couple that with not using the right things, you know,
yeah,
you definitely have some issues. So I think that is real. And, you know, social media too, I think that's across the board with everyone, but it definitely creates this illusion that so you see people with like perfect skin using a product, right? And it's like, well, they never had an issue to begin with. So, it's nice that they're using this and putting on their face and it looks so good, but it's like, if they're not starting from the same point as you, it's like you can't compare. So that's kind of back to the before and afters where that comes in, and looking at the results of things, I can't compare myself to someone who never breaks out or who never has any issues with their skin. I mean,
right.
And it's easy to do with social media. It's easy to do that. It's like, oh, well, look at her skin. It works. And it's like, well, what was the foundation? What was the ground zero? So the baseline, what was that? So I think it's all different things that people need to be educated on.
And different levels too, because there's also that end of the spectrum where you have these people, their skin is so terrible. It's like so bad. And again, it's like, there's other things going on besides topically what you're doing, like that we need to talk about here. I cannot just have you come in and it just, it's not just a skincare thing. You have to talk about what is the internal trigger at the end of the day, because there's clearly something going on with your body, and your skin is what is giving a telltale sign about that. But
yeah, and the topical products aren't going to change that. They're not. They can try to make it better, right? But if there's some trigger internally that we're not correcting, it's going to continue to be an issue. So
and then you're wasting your money.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. Well, I think that this has been really, really enlightening. One quick question I do have though is, do you have any, I know how it feels for me when I'm in a room, again, I'm the only brown face, in a room full of people who don't look like me. How does that make you feel? And like, do you have any kind of, I'm just wondering if there's a person out there now who's like, okay, this is where I want to go. This is the direction that I want to go in. But there aren't a lot of people who look like me. I'm still kind of shy, or I'm, do you have any particular tips or ways that you have learned to navigate that space?
For sure. I think, I'm sure across the board for a lot of different industries, once you get to a certain point, you probably don't see a lot of us, and it's not something you are always okay with, but it's something that you sometimes get used to, right? So I think for me, what I've gotten to just when you know your shit, right? Like I'm just comfortable being myself now. And that's not always the case when you're just starting out, right? Where you feel as though you don't know the industry you're in or don't know a certain product or service or whatever it may be. So, I think for me, it's always something that you're going to recognize, right? But I've gotten more comfortable being myself no matter what environment I'm in. But that has taken some time for sure. Like I said, I definitely want to see it change more. Just because, for me, in my situation now, I kind of work in a company that can cater to us, right? But I've definitely been in a situation where I've worked in companies that did not, or had products that didn't. So I think it's just owning you, getting the confidence in yourself to be you no matter what, because people see that, there is a light in that. And I know it's hard when you don't have someone around you who you may be able to relate to, and different struggles they may go through, lifestyle, just society, all of that. But I think you definitely have to come with a certain sense of self for sure to be able to just keep going.
Yeah, agreed. Knowing your shit helps.
Oh yeah, we have to, right?
Yeah. I know in school, I went to A&T, Aggie Pride, and I just had a professor, Miss Miss Tompkins, and she just drilled into us that, you know, at the end of the day, we have to be better. I mean, as Black women, that's just, you know, you're on time. You look the part. You know your stuff. You have to go above and beyond just because, yeah, you know, we carry something with us that, you know, people may attach, you know, a stigma to or whatever. So just go in there, you know, knowing your stuff and being better than the best.
Sure. You do. You have to go in with your A game at all times. And most of us were raised to know that, right? So, I mean, that does not change from in any work environment, I think, when you may be the minority. I think you definitely have to go in and bring your A game for sure. And, you know, we all know code switching is real, right? Like, you have to, you know, you do what you got to do sometimes, right? But I do think just making sure with that, or things you may have to do in order to navigate certain spaces, don't lose yourself. I've seen that happen, right? Where you switch it up so much, you start to like kind of lose who you are. And so make sure you have like a very strong sense of self. Do what you have to do to keep moving forward on your path, right? But always be your best, and always know at the end of the day, like, who you are. Stay true to that, for sure.
And if that's a Black woman. Well, I think that is the perfect way to wrap it up. I appreciate you so much, you know, for not only being here and conversing with me, but again, just being a sister in the game and, you know, doing your thing to create the representation that we need in the industry.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to seeing it continuing to grow and change. So thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Where can anybody find you if they're looking for you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is the Aesthetics Advisor. So you can find me there, and you'll see me. I post my little skincare tips and different things and around the industry. So follow me on Instagram at the Aesthetics Advisor.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Ashley.